Shannon.
Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I have been looking forward to this live since last month. So, this is only our third one, and it's just been really fun, and I have really enjoyed it so far. So, I want to thank you for taking time with me.
Yes, ma'am. And I thank you for asking me to be a part of this. And I've enjoyed it so far. And even though we had some issues last month, but it's been great since.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think everybody kind of joining us knows this is definitely something kind of newer for us. So hopefully everyone will be patient with us if we're, messing stuff up and everything.
Yes, because that is my common thing is messing things up.
Me too. I just messed something up right now. So I had like the audio going on my laptop. So I'm, you know.
Uh-oh. It happens.
So if you are here, I would love for you to say hello down in the chat. I am really going to work a lot harder about the technical aspect instead of just chatting with my friend and actually like pay attention to the chat and what's going on in there. So that's my goal.
You got to pay attention to who's, but also pay attention to the chat, and then also listen to what they're saying. It's a lot.
It is. It really is.
And then if you have technical difficulties on top of that, it can be a little mind-boggling sometimes.
It is. It really is. So
how
you.
is?
Oh, go on.
Ahead. I was just gonna ask, how's your weather? Because I know you said something about you guys still potentially get snow in March.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The grass, it's been unusually beautiful, and I know Elizabeth can attest to this because she lives in the same state as me. Like, it has been amazing February and March, and there's nothing in the forecast, but at this point, like, I mean, we've gotten blizzards in March, in April, even the beginning of May, we have gotten like major snowstorms. So, yeah, I saw you were in your garden in your last video, or you mentioned it, I mean.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that is, if you want to replant and you want your seeds to die, like you can be in your garden here, but no, nothing for you could have seeds started in your basement like that. That's the only thing you can do here right now.
Yeah, usually about this time of the year down here in South Carolina, which I finally caught up, but usually that's when I start my seeds. Usually they say don't sow in ground until April, but I haven't sown anything in ground yet, but I've already started my seeds. So we got last weekend, we got some fertilizer from my husband's work because where he works at the cotton gin. They've got what they call gin trash, which is just vegetable matter, what we call in spinning terms. It's decomposted, and so we got some of that was on the bottom and just put it in our garden. One of his co-workers said to do that, and throughout the year that you're growing, or the season of growing, you don't have to fertilize anything because it's so rich.
Okay. Around here we would put like horse or chicken manure in our garden. So if you guys don't know this, like if you're newer to Cydney's channel, I think it was like probably a good year ago, maybe she posted a video where like, if you don't, we're from such different parts of the country. I didn't understand this, but Cydney's husband works in like a factory where they process cotton. And she actually has a video where they go around the factory and look at that and look at the product and stuff. So I'll try to, when we're done with this, put a link in the description box to that tour. I mean, if that's not your thing, I mean, I get it, but I found it very interesting because where I am from, we don't have anything remotely like that. And to me, like when you say a cotton gin, like that seems like old timey or something. Like it's just, it's just I've never been exposed to anything like that. So it was super interesting to me.
It's actually kind of cool to watch them, which I think I have another video as well when we actually went to go pick up the cotton bales. It's actually kind of cool how the what we call trucks, which looks like a coal truck or like a dump truck.
Mhm.
But what it has is
Okay.
into the trail. I don't even, what would you call that?
Yeah, I would call it like a
You
trailer. I
and it's
think I
muggle truck.
remember seeing that. Was that like you had like a it was like real scenic in the beginning of the video?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I will try to link that too, just in case anybody wants to see that.
Hmm.
Hi,
It's
Vicky in Canada. How are you doing this morning? We've got
weather.
Heather here asking how everybody is doing. I am doing pretty good. How about you, Heather? I say
Thank you.
Jessie lives fairly close to me too, so I know that her weather is probably about the same as mine here. And when I say fairly close, I mean like 4 or 5 hours. So
Right. I seen where I don't know when she said that she was going to take the trip, but she's going to be down in my neck of the woods at some point.
that's what I thought. Yeah, I bet it was a lot nicer there.
Yeah, it's been like high 70s, 80 degrees down here. It's been hot. It's been
We have
hot.
had a few days like that, but the wind here is, very rough. So like technically it's like 74, but
Hmm.
you walk outside and it's 30 or 40 mile an hour winds, so it doesn't really feel that great.
So, like during the summer months, how hot does it get in Iowa?
Um, I would say like mid 90s
Hmm.
usually. We might have a couple days out of the year, like less than 5 probably where it gets above 100.
Hmm.
But with the like the famous like Midwestern saying is it wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the humidity. Like it's it's just bad. So
Hmm.
it's like the heat index or the feels like temperature can be over 100. So yep, Jessie says it was
Yeah.
last week she was in your neighborhood.
I want to ask her where she was at, but I don't want to, I don't like people post or
Getting like too
stuff
personal
where, yeah,
information.
yeah. So, but I mean, she's more than free to answer that question if she wants to, but she doesn't have to. Um, but so your guys' weather is similar to West Virginia's then.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just looks so beautiful out there.
In West Virginia,
Mhm.
it is. I miss the mountains. I didn't grow up in the mountains, but I greatly miss it. So the mountains call me home, or I call the mountains home, whichever you want to.
That's funny.
Yeah,
So
once. Go ahead.
you had something very cool happen on your channel, something
Mhm.
you have been doing but haven't been doing. So maybe tell us a little bit about that. But Jessie did answer you here. She said she was near Charleston.
So she was about 2.5 hours away from where I was at.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because South Carolina is kind of weird shaping,
Mm-hmm.
and we're we're not like in the center, but we're also not north either, or like it's weird. We're closer to Myrtle Beach,
Okay.
if you know where Myrtle Beach is. We're about an hour and a half south. west of Myrtle Beach. So
Okay.
yeah. But I had too much coffee and I've got the jitter.
That's me
But
every day.
but so the drum carter actually,
Yes.
um so it took some time to get here because it was actually got it right here. Because I was ordering it from Ukraine and there was a little bit of an issue with it shipping, but I finally received it about,
Okay.
and this is the drum carter.
That is awesome. So I have seen your video where you were getting, where you were working with it. You did like a cool time lapse.
Hmm.
So would you say that this is just a more mechanized or more like effective or faster way to do what you were doing by hand before? Because you had like the boards.
Most definitely. I had the, so you've got, which I might get them here in a minute, but you have the hand carders, which is how you can actually fluff it up and get it to the point where you can use the blending board, which usually you'll see me take like roving, different kinds of roving and blend colors together.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it is a lot quicker. It's a lot easier than using them hand carders. The hand carders, they hurt my hands. I can only do it for so long. But after figuring out the drum carder, it's been a breeze, a complete breeze, and I'm actually making progress on carding up the alpaca that I've got and cleaning it up and everything. So yes, it is a lot easier and not as time consuming.
And you had gotten some alpaca gifted to you from a friend or neighbor, correct? Or am I
It was
hallucinating that?
as soon as I seen it, which trying to think, probably
Oh,
for $10. So that's very, very cheap. And I mean, for the most part, it's been fairly clean. You go online, it could be anywhere between 30, 40, $50. So
mhm.
it was a, it might have been an hour away, but it was a deal. So
It still makes sense, it does. Hi,
yeah.
Denise, how are you doing this morning? Yeah, Elizabeth is saying here, looking forward to it warming enough to crochet outside. Yeah, my favorite place is like outside here, and we have like an area in between our house and then our barn where this clover has grown. Not, is it
Mhm.
clover? Yeah, it's clover. And I convinced my husband not to mow over it last year because random bumblebees were living in there. And so, like, just to go out there and when it's like all kind of blooming, it just smells so amazing.
Mhm.
And I did really enjoy crocheting last year there. Um, but I don't have like a porch or anything, so I'm definitely limited to where I am at. Yes, porch swing, Denise, that would be perfect.
But can you guys at least hear me or see me or
Say, because
anything?
I know we had kind of discovered this last week. When we're filming this through YouTube, for me, I can hear and see a lot better than what's, I think, actually being broadcast out. So it's hard for me to know, like, because I can hear, and so I just keep going.
not to the point where it was last. I'm still kind of freezing, but it's not as
Okay,
bad.
good, good. So I did want to talk to you, Cydney, because I just get excited sometimes about things, and it's easy for me to kind of skip ahead and jump ahead in my excitement.
Hmm.
And so after kind of watching you and your drum carter and everything, and I started watching a bunch of videos, and I was like, maybe I should buy some fiber and spin my own yarn. Um, but I think for someone who literally knows nothing about that, um, I quickly realized with a little bit of research that some of those supplies can get very costly, and you're not going to know if you even like it, without investing money. So, I guess
Hmm.
my first question would be is what did you start with? Like, did you start with a drop spindle? And oh, you just jumped right in.
Yeah, a lot of people say to start with a drop spindle because it is fairly inexpensive and it's a great way to start. But what I've noticed, and and it could just be me looking at it versus actually working with one. From what I've seen between an actual drop spindle versus a manual spinning wheel or even electric spinning wheel, it's a different feel when you draft.
Okay.
I feel like it would be a lot more time consuming due to you've got to drift it and then you've actually got to spin the drop spindle. So I started off on robots, and I think he has the Nano 2 out. This one's the 1.1 or 1. They're a little expensive in your budget, but they're the cheapest that you're going to be able to find as far as an electric spinner. I feel like this is the best way to. Again, it all just depends on your
Well,
budget.
and that's the thing too, where I thought it could be frustrating to do a drop spindle, like because there is a lot, it seems as though there's a lot more room for user error with that, and maybe just getting frustrated and everything right away. But my next question would be is, so I guess I'm a little bit confused on like the process of it all, or like what is the first thing, like, so do you just buy a bunch of fiber, or do you have to card the fiber and then spin it, or is there something like, yeah, I'm like totally beginner here. Okay. Hello, Marsh Knitting 101. Hello, Marina. How are you guys doing this morning? Oh, Gina or Regina? Hello. Okay.
Um, and I highly suggest start the um, there's is going to be the best um, for you. Course for wool. If not, you can look at they label.
No, it does. I get that because I mean, yep, it does. Yeah. So to me, I kind of see that as like, like when you're looking at like thread count on sheets or something, like the higher amount, the like smoother and better it is.
Yeah, I would just kind of make
Okay. Yeah.
say something else, but the Suffolk wool, um, that wardle is another one that I would suggest starting off.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. It's like you need something for beginners that, um, you don't want to hate it or something like that right away after starting.
So,
Oh my gosh. So I'm going to just talk for just a little bit while you're working on some tech stuff there. Um, what does Sydney's shirt say? I can't see it enough.
hold on.
Hi, Nikki. How are you doing? Oh, coop to table. When we moved out to our place, I had all of these like great ideas that we were going to get chickens and all this stuff, but our house wasn't we didn't buy it as a foreclosure, but it probably would have turned into one, within 6 months or a year had she had not sold it to us. So we've really just spent the last 8 years trying to get the house more livable, and we have not really even touched our barns at this point. So yeah, 8 years, no chickens still, and we've still got more work to do. So I'm still buying my eggs like a peasant.
About a year before I convinced my husband that we needed chickens, but I was even trying to convince him back in West Virginia, and then um,
I just I think it would be so cool to have like sheep or alpaca or something like that, but I have a couple, like I think 3 older videos on my channel where my husband's cousin, she has
mhm,
alpaca and they live in Minnesota, and they just had them to have them because she likes having an acreage and doing all that stuff. And their girls were in 4-H and they were showing the alpaca. So like a year or
mhm,
2 ago, she sheared the alpaca and then found a place down here in Iowa to bring the wool. And she had like a couple like really big trash bags full of the wool. And took
mhm.
it to a place where they make a lot of their own yarn. They'll spin your yarn for you, that type of stuff. But she paid quite a lot to get it spun, and I don't know like the details of it because she just brought them like like there was like leaves and twigs and stuff still in the wool. Like she didn't like clean it out. So I don't know if like that ended up
Yeah.
costing her more to get it processed because it was like that. But she was then selling the hanks and she still has some left. She gifted me some and I did like a couple videos on it and I, gave her some products for her to like wear and stuff. And it was really neat to work with, but it was 100% alpaca. It was not mixed with anything. I mean, and it felt very, very like buttery on your hands to work with. But I did also quickly
Mhm.
realize you need like it was very finely spun. So you would need a massive amount of it to, to
Mhm.
really make anything. Because I was for the most part holding it together, like with a strand of cotton or just something else just to make it go further to make a hat. Because I'm
Right.
like, well, I mean, if it was your wool and you're like, yeah, it's no big deal, $60 to make one beanie, no big deal. But if that's something you're like trying to sell or something, like that's a very high end product. And the people willing to purchase that are going to be a smaller pool. So
Mhm.
it was just one of those where I'm like, I don't think that we could in any way manage any sort of operation that would be remotely profitable. Like I think you would have to have
Mhm.
so many and so much wool, and then maybe do so much of that process yourself in order to, not lose money on the deal.
Right. That's before I got the drum carder. I was actually looking to see if I could ship all the alpaca that I have off to a mill so that they can process it for me because with the hand carders, it was just so time consuming. I wasn't getting nowhere and I was looking into sending it off to a mill, but I mean, it's expensive sending it off.
Mhm.
Um, I think for like, I think they do it by poundage, but it could cost up to like $350 just to
Yeah.
get a pound processed and spun up for you,
Yeah,
or
I
even
think
for
with
roving.
Yep, I think with Aaron's, and like I said, they spun them into hanks, and she had 2, like, decent sized trash bags full, but I think she paid, like, 600 and some dollars, yeah, to get that processed, and they didn't dye it or anything. She had, like a creamy natural color, uh, a medium tan color, and a dark brown color, so she didn't, feel the need to do any of that. And so like she was selling them, I think, for like 20 or 22 bucks. And I honestly don't know if that I don't know if she did the math correctly. Like I don't really think she
Mhm.
probably was selling them. I don't know if she even broke even, selling them for that. Like I really question
What
whether or not she did the math right.
do you know how much? Did you say how much wool she sent off, or
I don't know, like poundage wise. It was in like 2 big trash bags. And I
okay? So
know like
yeah,
I did not think so.
no, there because you lose quite a bit when you do process it.
Mhm.
Like here,
Mhm.
like any kind of um, shavings or anything that doesn't really will card up into the drum carder, it'll take it out of there. So you do lose quite a bit of fiber once you process it. So,
I
and then also the vegetable matter, what the vegetable matter weighs too. That's
Mhm.
what my husband's cotton gin last season. They had issues with how much vegetable matter or trash that they had in their cotton. They're only supposed to have, I think, about 30 to 40% vegetable matter after they've processed their cotton, but they were having about 60. So that plays a lot into um, like costs and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I can see that. I
mhm.
will I will put a link this will be after it's over because I'm not techie enough to do it while we're talking.
Uh-huh.
But I will go back and I will put like a link to this place in Iowa. It's in Humboldt, Iowa, and it's probably like hour and 20 minutes from me. But I'll put a link to like their Facebook page where you can see just like the details about their operation and stuff like
Okay.
that. I mean, it's kind of neat. I mean, it's definitely small scale compared to like where your husband works for sure.
I'm seeing if I'm still glitchy.
It seems like it's working, but again, it's hard for me to tell.
So what it looks like on my computer is I look actually clear.
Like, let's hope so. You look clear to me.
Hmm.
I had seen so Rita, I had gone to an LYS for the first time like a couple weeks ago, and I had never been to one, but I just don't have them real close to me. I And so I went. I was in Ames, Iowa, and that's where Iowa State is. If you've heard of Iowa State University, and I saw online they had an LYS, and it looked pretty cool. And I went, and my husband and I were there for the day, and I got him to go with me, which most husbands just love that.
Yeah.
But I guess it was better than sitting in the car. But I went in and I have to say I was honestly kind of like a little bit disappointed. Um, and not like I knew what to expect as far as price range and stuff like that. Like it wasn't like, "Oh my gosh, this is expensive." But the store was way smaller than it appeared online.
Hmm.
And so you walked in and there was like one younger gal working, and she did not seem overly impressed with working in a yarn store. Like, I feel like if I worked in a yarn store, I'd be super excited all the time. But she was
Hmm.
just like, "Hey, let me know if you need anything." So I was just kind of looking around, and they had pretty yarns. It was mostly Malabrego, and then there was some, is it pronounced Baracco? Um, so they primarily had those two different lines. They
Hmm.
did have the reason this kind of jogged my memory is because Rita had said she gets some alpaca at her LYS.
Hmm.
And there was like a couple hanks of natural alpaca that was there. And I don't know, I'm assuming it's kind of the same thing. Um, so it was okay. But there wasn't anything in there that was like so cool that I had to have it. Like I was prepared, to spend 40 or $60. But they're just I was just kind of bummed out. Like everything was okay. There was like maybe one or two hanks of Malabrego in like a fingering weight where I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, but they didn't have two or three of the same ones. It was just like single ones. So I was like,
Hmm.
what am I I have made that mistake too many times of not buying enough of something and
Hmm.
then not it's just kind of wasted. So I ended up not buying anything and I was kind of bummed out that I left empty-handed, but save my money for another day. I'll find somewhere else to go, I guess.
There you go. I love going to our somewhat local yarn shop, which is like an hour and 15 minutes ish away. But the price is what gets me because,
Yeah.
$22. I get, it's a higher end yarn,
Mhm.
but 22 to $32 for 260 some
Yeah.
yards, it's like, that's not in my budget. So,
Well, I
yeah.
guess that does kind of lead me to another question to circle back a little bit. But
Mhm.
so when I'm looking like if I'm looking for roving, what is like a price for an amount that is a like a reasonable amount? And then my follow-up would be, how much yarn can you actually get out of a glob of roving?
So it really all depends on the type of fiber it is, and also to your second question, it also depends on how thin or thick you spin the fiber. And also your first question, it depends on whether it is like a blend or if it's just a like regular roving, like what I showed you. It all just kind of depends. Um, I would say the best, if you can calculate it up, I would say I would pay no more, depending on the fiber, it is no more than $4 an ounce.
Okay, okay,
So
that's extremely helpful.
So most people, what they do is they with their roving, they usually sell it in 4 ounces increments.
Okay,
Um, so typically, you'll see about 16 to um, $32 for a 4 ounce. Again, it all just depends on the fibers that are in it, what type of fiber it is, and how it's blended up, and what's going on with the roving. Um, Now, to your second question, again, it just depends on how thick or thin you spin it. So usually I spin about, I say, a sport to a DK weight yarn, and usually I can get anywhere between 200 to 300 yards just with four
okay,
ounces. But
okay,
again, it all goes into how thin or thick you spin it.
okay.
Mhm.
When and I'm sure that's just something that takes a lot of just more practice and experience.
Yeah, it does. I've noticed with myself, and I've noticed with other people too, the more they spin, the thinner that their yarn gets. I don't know what it is, but it's the more you spin, the thinner your singles become. I don't know what it is, but unless you're using like kind of like a novelty yarn or
Mhm.
bulky weight or whatever.
Well, I don't wanna get so good that I'm accidentally making crochet thread, you know?
Hey, it happens.
I'm sure it does.
I don't know if I have anything that's that thin. I mean, I have this that's just my singles. You can see how
Okay,
thin that is. Yeah, and that will probably be, by the time I apply it together, um, it'll probably be about a sport weight yarn.
okay,
Yep. So, and then it also depends on if you're going to do a, with that same roving, if you're going to do like a 3 ply, 4 ply, exactly what you're doing. So
okay.
there's there's a lot to spinning, and I didn't realize that when I first started. I'm still learning quite a bit. I am
Mhm.
not a professional. I do not claim to be professional. And honestly, if I would definitely recommend, if you're wanting to know more about spinning, check out Kamaj Fibers.
Okay,
Subscribe to her newsletter. She is wonderful. She has a school of what she calls School of Arts, fiber arts. It's a little expensive, but sometimes she will offer free modules that will kind of give you an insight of how her school works. And from what I've seen from her modules, I mean, they're absolutely amazing.
well, I mean, I know you said it could be costly, but mistakes are costly too, like, if I'm screwing up everything I do, that could be a problem. Could you type in the description box how to because I don't always, like, know how to spell things, or not the description box, but could you write in the comments what the name of that place was? Because I would have no idea how to spell that. Okay, thank you. Mhm, yep. Okay, okay. Okay. Run that. Yeah, I definitely would not have spelled that like that, so thank you.
Yeah, when I first seen Kamaj, I was like, how do you even say that? I mean, is it like, Spanish and you don't actually pronounce the J and it sounds more like an H or whatever? I'm like, is it Kamal or is it Kamaj? But I heard her say Kamaj, so I was like, okay, I'm in the clear.
I'm just such a bad speller, like, honestly, like, probably if you go through my thumbnails, there's probably words spelled wrong on those, and I don't notice, like, it's just bad. Ugh, no, I get that. Rita is asking, where Kamaj is located. Do you know?
I think the mother in Florida. I think
Okay.
it's Roxville or something. Either West Palm Beach or up towards Daytona.
Okay.
But I know one of her daughters in I think Charlotte, North
Okay.
Carolina.
But so definitely like
But I don't know if
US shipping, US prices and everything.
yeah, I think they will ship to Canada. I don't know if that's just the spinning box itself or if that's the website, which that's something that if you guys are interested to look into. But I know at one point to Canada, but
Oh, yeah. Okay, it's back. It's Marina says it's back. You're good.
okay, okay. It's never too late to learn how to.
Mhm.
It is an expensive hobby to have. It's worth it in the end because you can say that you've spun your own yarn, and then if you make something out of the yarn, you've made something
Yeah.
out of something that you've
I
spun.
guess
So,
that's kind of
and then
that's
eventually,
the appeal to me is it just I mean, I guess maybe more the satisfaction of bringing a project from start to finish, and
mhm.
obviously that's probably something that's more you would just do for your own personal satisfaction, because I'm sure if you were to actually put together the cost of the goods and your time involved, that it probably isn't something where it would be cost effective to try to sell or something like that. But, um, you know,
That's kind of what that's That's the whole reason why I got into the drum carding is because I do want to mess around and trying to sell some fiber
mhm.
or even just some hand spun that I've done. But
So Rita is saying that she is going to be doing teaching some fiber art at her school. They're going to be doing knitting and crochet and weaving. And the thing that I found interesting, I had a gal in the comments in one of my videos and the other day, and she was writing from Norway, and she said
Mhm.
that in grade school there in Norway that they actually like learned crochet and knitting. And I just thought that was super cool and definitely not something that we learned at all in Iowa
Mhm.
in grade school. um I don't know, it just seemed really
It's
neat, and I kind of wished that that was that way.
it's I know at least when I went to high school, which was not that long ago, um, not even 10 years ago, but the only way that you would actually learn knitting or crochet is if you took a home ec school.
Yeah.
But at least all the elementary schools or schools that I went to or high
Mhm.
school.
Yeah.
It tool or crocheting. So
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wish it was something I would have just had more exposure to or whatever earlier, but you can't go back in time. So it is what it is. Well, I do appreciate all of the tips and everything, because like I said, I went down a rabbit hole the other day of like excitement and like thinking I needed to learn all the things about a hobby like immediately. And I immediately learned there was way too much to learn about it.
mhm.
So, no, I appreciate you just sharing those basic tips and also like telling me what's an appropriate price and what to buy and what not to buy.
If you at any point want to, and this goes for anybody, kind of pick my brain about getting started more with spinning your own fiber and spinning yarn, please feel free to do that, even if it's, off camera, because I might be able to give.
No, no, but you have a lot more experience than probably anyone here this morning. So it is extremely helpful. Well, I am gonna have to like duck out and cut this just a couple minutes short here this morning. But just thank you so much, Cydney, for chatting with me. And so next month it'll be that third Saturday of the month again, and we will be over on Cydney's channel. So definitely be paying attention. If you're not subscribed already, subscribe so you get notified of when we will be there. But again, thank you so much, Cydney. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
guys. Thank you for joining in. I appreciate it so much.